Beneath the red skies of Mars lies a world that has fooled us for centuries, a place where shadows become faces, where rocks become relics, and where the truth hides behind dust and distance. For generations we've looked at this planet and seen what we wanted to see: canals built by ancient engineers, faces carved by alien hands, signs of life waiting to be found. But Mars is a master of deception. As we send new eyes and new machines to its surface, from orbiters to rovers, we're not just searching for evidence of life, we're also confronting the limits of our own perception. Today, let's uncover the illusions that Mars has woven through history and ask ourselves a question as old as discovery itself. When we look into the red planet, are we truly seeing it? Or are we only seeing ourselves? All war is deception, wrote the ancient Chinese strategist Sun Tzu. And perhaps that's why Mars, named after the god of war, has turned out to be quite the deceiver itself. For centuries, Mars has toyed with our imagination. Since the 1800s, when Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli peered through his telescope and thought he saw long, straight canals etched across the planet's surface, humanity has been under its spell. Those canals, he believed, hinted at a civilization capable of reshaping a world. But there were no canals, just tricks of light and shadow, optical illusions born from imperfect lenses and hopeful minds. Sometimes trusting our own eyes can be dangerous. Today, the torch has passed from Schiaparelli's telescope to NASA's Perseverance rover, another seeker of life. But unlike him, Perseverance doesn't look from afar. It roams across the Martian desert itself, searching for what Schiaparelli could only dream of: proof that life once existed on the red planet. Yet Mars still has its ways of deceiving us. Not everything we find is what it seems. By May of 2022, Perseverance had arrived at its most anticipated destination, the Jezero Crater Delta. Scientists had pinned their hopes on this site because billions of years ago, a vast river once flowed here, depositing layers of silt and clay. Within those ancient sediments might lie the fossilized remains of microbial life. Finding even the simplest organism would change everything. It would prove that life is not unique to Earth, that the spark of biology can ignite wherever conditions allow. And if we found something more advanced, something that hinted at intelligence, it would rewrite human history. But the planet didn't yield its secrets easily. Many of the rocks Perseverance tried to drill into at places like Enchanted Lake Three Forks and Hawksbill Gap were too brittle, breaking apart before any core could be extracted. Some were too rough to even begin drilling. It wasn't until July that Perseverance finally succeeded, collecting its first proper core sample from a rock called Skinner Ridge. The search for life had truly begun, but Mars was already preparing its next illusion. As Perseverance moved further across the delta, it began capturing images that stirred amusement and confusion. In September, one photo went viral, a rock that looked uncannily like a sleeping cat curled on the Martian surface. Earlier in June, another formation resembled a snake's head, complete with what seemed like an eye and open mouth. Of course, no one seriously believed there were cats or snakes basking under Mars's cold sun. But these shapes captured something very human, our instinct to find meaning, to recognize faces and creatures in randomness. Mars had fooled us again. But these small illusions were only the beginning of a much greater one that decades ago made the entire world believe that we might not be alone. In 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter photographed a region called Cydonia, and among its rocky mesas was a structure that looked shockingly familiar, a human face carved into the desert. 2 kilometers long, perfectly shaped eyes, nose, mouth staring back at us from the red planet. When the image was released, it set the world ablaze. Some saw it as evidence of an ancient civilization, Others imagined alien architects who once shaped both Mars and Earth. Could it really be coincidence? Could nature form something so precise? For many, the answer was no. Books were written, documentaries produced, theories spread like wildfire. For a moment, humanity believed it had glimpsed its cosmic reflection. But the truth, as always, came with patience. In 1998, and again in 2001, newer orbiters, the Mars Global Surveyor and later HiRISE, re-imaged the same site with far greater clarity. The face was gone. Under the new light and sharper resolution, it was nothing more than an ordinary hill, its once eyes and mouth mere shadows cast by the sun at a certain angle. What Schiaparelli's canals had been in the 19th century, the face on Mars became in the 20th, another grand deception born from our longing to find ourselves out there. So, what exactly happened? It's a phenomenon called pareidolia, our brain's tendency to see familiar patterns like faces or animals in random shapes. It's an ancient survival trait. Early humans evolved to detect danger quickly. Better to mistake a shadow for a predator than miss the real one. But this same ability misleads us. We look at clouds and see dragons. We see figures in wood grain, messages in the stars, and faces on Mars. It's our minds, filling in blanks that nature never intended. A helpful instinct, but one that can turn science into myth if left unchecked. And while pareidolia explains some illusions, Mars has others that are entirely real and far more unsettling. In April 2022, Perseverance captured something strange, fragments of bright silvery material scattered across the delta. They glistened under the thin Martian sunlight. Scientists noticed fine patterns on the surface, too regular to be natural. Had the rover just found proof of advanced technology on Mars, not alien technology, as it turned out, but ours? These fragments were the remnants of Perseverance's own journey to Mars, parts of its entry, descent and landing system, insulation sheets, thermal blankets and netting from the sky crane that had lowered the rover safely to the ground in 2021. The tangled pieces, shredded by impact, had drifted far from their original landing site. The mystery was solved, but it came with an uncomfortable truth. Even on another world, our debris was already there, proof that humanity's footprint is hard to erase. How did those materials travel so far? The answer lay in the Martian wind. Over more than a year, shifting air currents had blown the fragments nearly 2.5 kilometres across the crater. Some of it was found north of Perseverance's landing zone, tangled among the rocks like ancient relics. It was a reminder that even on Mars, nature is never still, and that our presence leaves traces wherever we go. But there was also concern: if debris could travel this far, could it carry something else? Something living, perhaps? That question would haunt scientists in the months to come. NASA takes contamination seriously, obsessively so. Every component of Perseverance was assembled in clean rooms, where dust and bacteria were filtered out, where engineers wore full-body suits to avoid a single stray cell. The goal, to ensure that if the rover ever found life, it wouldn't be our life. Still, the discovery of drifting spacecraft debris raised a troubling possibility. If any resilient microbe from Earth had survived hidden on metal or fabric, and later reached Perseverance's sampling area, it could complicate the search for native Martian biology. Even one false reading could mislead decades of research. Fortunately, the risk remains extremely low. Scientists are confident that they can distinguish Earth-origin microbes from anything truly Martian. But the lesson remains: Mars isn't just testing our machines, it's testing our integrity. As Perseverance continues its mission gathering samples and scanning the horizon, it faces challenges that go beyond dust and distance. The hardest obstacle, perhaps, is us. We are storytellers by nature. We long to find meaning, faces in shadows, life in silence. When we look at a rock that resembles a creature or a shiny scrap of metal, we feel that ancient spark of discovery. Maybe we whisper, "This is proof." But science demands something harder than hope restraint. Without skepticism, curiosity becomes fantasy, and without humility, knowledge turns into illusion. If we aren't careful, we risk repeating the same mistake, seeing what we want to see instead of what is. Perhaps Mars has never truly deceived us. It only holds up a mirror, reflecting our desire to find life, to see ourselves among the stars. From Schiaparelli's imagined canals to the Viking face, from rocks shaped like cats to fragments of our own machinery, the Red Planet has taught us one enduring lesson: that truth requires patience, clarity, and doubt in equal measure. In the end, the greatest illusion is not the ones Mars creates, but the ones we create in our own minds. Because believing is easy. Seeing clearly, that's the hard part. In the end, Mars didn't deceive us, it revealed us. Every mirage, every mistaken canal, every imagined face in the sand was a reflection of our hope, our longing, and our curiosity. Perseverance continues to move across that silent world, its cameras, capturing rock's dust and traces of our own presence, pieces of a story still being written. Perhaps one day it will find what we've been searching for, or perhaps in the process, it will teach us something even greater: that truth requires patience, humility, and the courage to doubt what we see. Because space doesn't just challenge our technology, it challenges our perception of reality itself. You've been watching Cosmic Compass. Let's keep exploring the universe and learning to see it in ourselves with clearer eyes.